not agree that you were a white man?
I mean, I think that it depends on the context in which you're discussing it.
So what are you, Ben? Are you not a white guy?
I mean, I'm a man of Jewish ethnicity, which is sometimes grouped with white and sometimes not. I mean, that's the more accurate way to put it. But when
what
we're
else
talking
would you
about
be grouped
with Jews, who are which is an ethnicity. I mean,
so you're not white at all.
I mean, again, it depends who's doing the grouping and how. I've seen Jews grouped with white and Jews grouped with not white. Are we just pretending that doesn't exist? That's a reality. However, as far as your generalized point, which is that we are supposed to identify people by group identity, that if we don't have a black female president, somehow black females have not been represented. So Barack Obama was in no way representative of black females because he's not a female.
No, he was. He was representative,
so
but
he was
that's
half
the point.
representative. How do you do the math on this? And why?
You shouldn't do the math on it completely statistically, but the fact is,
you shouldn't do the math on it at all. You should treat people as individuals. You should treat people as individuals.
Well, if you don't even want Kamala Harris to attempt to create DEI initiatives in office, then there isn't even going to be a conversation about it.
I mean, I don't think there ought to be a conversation about why we ought to be represented by race or by sex. I think that we are each individual people with individual ideas, and if that person represents my ideas, I don't care what sex, race, or sexual orientation they are.
I mean, to an extent, yes.
No, entirely.
But there is an issue with the lack of empathy in office. We need to be able to empathize and legislate for the people that are living in this country. Do you not believe that?
I was not aware that empathy is relegated to particular race solidarity.
No, but I mean, it's easier to be empathetic towards people whose experiences you can fundamentally understand based on your identity. Like, do you not believe that people have an inherent bias?
So first of all,
based
I'm not
on
sure.
identity?
I mean, we can start with the empathy itself. I'm not sure that empathy is always the best basis for actual public policy, because when you have group solidarity and empathy based on group solidarity, you're going to attempt to actually benefit the group with whom you have solidarity. So that actually cuts against generalized public policy.
But that's like a fundamental thing that just exists, which is why we need representation in government.
Oh my God, she's so annoying. This girl pops up like a pimple all over the internet, arguing with conservatives. I mean, she's like a blackhead that I just want to pop and get rid of her forever. Somebody needs to take some type of Clearasil or whatever and get rid of this blackhead woman. I can't stand her. But I want to go back to something she said. I want to start off with you, Gimpy. Well, not what she said, but what Ben Shapiro said. He said sometimes Jews are grouped with white and sometimes they're not. Can you explain that a little further?
Jews are not white.
Okay.
I mean, like, you want to understand this myth around why Jews are white, because you have to pick a box. And if you're going to pick a box that you can fit in, the one that gets you the most leverage to hide your group, you're going to pick, right? So since we're white adjacent, we can pick white. I'm not arguing that it isn't, but it's a survival mechanism. It's not we're identifying here because we see ourselves as the Aryan Brotherhood. I'm sorry. No, we picked this because it gives us the least resistance. I'm old enough to remember my grandfather talking about how every Saturday he lost his job because there was no protections for people who took off work on Saturday when they were Jewish. You only had Sunday off in this country because that was the Christian day off. So this country is not what everyone keeps cracking it up to be about how Jews lived here and dominated everything. It's the same way they blame us for being bankers. You made us bankers, right?
What do you mean by you made us bankers?
Dude, Jews weren't allowed to have any other jobs but being bankers and tax collectors in the Roman Empire. That's why we became in the financial industry. They gave us the jobs that would make you hate the government, so you just hated Jews instead. Like, that was the Roman play on exiling Jews from Israel after the Second Holy Temple. For all the Christians out there, like, that's how Jews end up in Europe, people. It's not a conspiracy of a nation of converts. It's literally the Romans pick us up and move us and make us their civil servants. It's well documented. And this is the universe we live in.
Intentionally do not like to think about her. What a foolish person. And to think that we have to contend with so many of these minions, like walking the earth and having the audacity to influence our children. Again, y'all, I homeschool, and she is another reason why I homeschool and why my kids can go anywhere they want to college, but trust and believe certain colleges I'm not paying for, I'm not helping, it's not happening. This is the result. She is foolish. And I love Evie. Hey there. And she put out there, she loved that Ben Shapiro said ethnicity, not race. And I get so angry with that. They're always talking about race. And I'm like, there is one race. It's a human race. It's bigotry that we want to talk about, but it doesn't sound as good as calling somebody racist. right? We throw that out. And she scrambled. I mean, Ben is a genius. We know that. But she can't make up her mind. The only purpose she has is to attempt to win an argument and sound intellectual with having no factual basis. It's not about being represented as a woman. It's being represented as again, category by category. And she just wants a win that she's never going to get with Ben Shapiro or anybody with even common sense. So there's not even, I don't even take her with a grain of salt. Y'all, she gets no salt given. I don't give anything. Because that's nonsense. They will never be happy. There's an entire generation that will always have to be a victim or she's going to have to be represented. Even if she were represented, she's going to be angry with that. Because what if that person that represents her is someone like you or I, KJ? But every single thing, every other dot and cross she wanted her I's and T's, we completed. So this is arguing for the sake of arguing. They are hateful for the sake of being hateful. This shouldn't be happening in 2025, but it is. They've been indoctrinated. Stand up and just tell them to stop. Thank you, Ben Shapiro.
These people are they're liars. Not, I'm talking about this lady, this Pimple. I'm calling her a human Pimple. She is false. You know, this woman is dating a white guy. I think she may be even married to him. He is a white guy. This Pimple, this human Pimple, goes on the internet, on social media, and all she does is push DEI. All she does is push all this, black against white, men against women, this gender ideology. And she's dating a white guy.
Yeah, but a lot of those blackety, smarty-arty folk, to quote CT, because I like that phrase, are always dating white folk.
Yeah.
Like,
AOC. I mean, there's so many we can.
There's so many. It's mind blowing how it's like they're in the streets. They're black power. At home, it's not that. That's for sure.
Right. And like you mentioned, in the streets is black power. At home, they're being colonized, as they say. Colonized.
Ooh, I like that.
It's really weird. It's very weird. Well, you know what? I'm not even going to say it's weird because they're doing this by design. They know what they're saying is lies. They know that they're saying this stuff. It doesn't make sense. They're trying to create race wars. They're trying to create division. This is all part of the Marxist plan. And what they're doing is they're preying on low-level thinkers, on people who are going to be driven by emotion, and to drive them to the polls to vote Democrat or do whatever else they want them to do. This is what it is. But this woman is dating a white guy, and she continues to push division, and they're oppressors and we are being oppressed. We are victims. She's dating a white guy. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it.
I can. And they'll be the first to say something about me. Y'all, I've been married to a white man. This year will be 20 years.
That's true. That's true.
Look at my children. I have 2 redheaded children with blue eyes, 2 blondes with blue eyes, and then 2 kids that came out, thank the Lord, that had a tan. They weren't allergic to the sun. They will call out conservatives and anybody. And you're right. Again, this goes back to wanting to play victim.
Right.
While at home, they're playing something completely other than the victim. You're right.
Yeah. They're just kinky, KJ. They're just all very kinky people.
It makes me sick though, because they continue to peddle this crap to people who actually start to believe it. Now, I don't have any issue with interracial dating and all that kind of stuff. I think, as long as you're Christian and you believe, you're God-fearing, whatever, we're good. But it's just like, why are you pushing this and you're going home to a white man? It makes no sense to me until it really does. They're pushing a grift is what it is. This is this girl again on here. She's so annoying, but it's actually satisfying to see her get corrected.
They killed millions of people. and caused significant amounts of suffering.
Actually,
it was human suffering. It was a genocide.
Most of what killed Native Americans was not genocide; it was disease.
The Trail of Tears killed millions of people.
Okay, the Trail of Tears didn't kill millions of people.
Yes, it did.
How many millions do you think died in the Trail of Tears?
Let's Google it.
Google it.
All right.
How many millions died at the Trail of Tears?
It says an estimated 4,000 out of 16,000 Cherokee people, forced to relocate. Let me see deaths.
How many millions?
It says estimate that 6,000 men, women, and children die on the 1,200-mile march called the Trail of Tears, Cherokee.
Okay.
So is 6,000 anywhere close to millions?
So let's just look
and
at colonization.
millions.
This girl, they're idiots, Michelle. They're idiots. And she was trying again to say white people are evil and they've done so many evil things, and she's trying to demonize white people, and she's giving facts that aren't even real. What are your thoughts on that exchange?
It's Common Core math, KJ. It's Common Core math. Can we just blame education on this?
Right.
I don't even know where they get these talking points. They listen, it's from clown to clown and fool to fool, and they just pass it on. It's like they get into, again, it's their little pockets. They get in these friend groups and they're watching these podcasters, uneducated, uninformed, or they're watching the media, which is intentionally misinforming them to believe this history that just doesn't exist. Millions? How are you going to miss this by hundreds of thousands of people? Did you just skip the history lesson, or you just chose to blatantly ignore it, talk about it like you know something? She's just, again, I will never think of a blackhead the same way. KJ, from now on, when I think of blackheads, I'm going to think of this person. And what's sad is, she wants to change the subject so quick. Well, it's not, well, what about?
Right.
When they're wrong, they can't move on. They can't handle being wrong.
Right. And first of all, we want to acknowledge the Trail of Tears was a horrific and shameful chapter in American history. But again, they are trying to paint everything with a broad brush. And as he said, the total Cherokee population at that time was under 20,000. So millions didn't even exist to be killed. And as they corrected her, it was between 4,000 to 6,000 that died, and mostly due to disease, exposure, and starvation was what it was done. So these inflated numbers are meant to weaponize history. Not only is she an idiot, but she's doing this purposely to weaponize for political narratives that she doesn't want to tell the truth about. That's what it is. And again, they're trying to create emotion over evidence is what it is. This is their playbook. They did the same thing with climate hysteria, COVID death stats, slavery reparations, inflate numbers to guilt the public and justify radical policies. This is what they do.
It is.
Yeah. So we will continue to follow this. I just had to get her. When I saw that clip of her again, I mean, she pops up like a pimple. I told you all. She pops up like a pimple all over the internet whenever there's some type of conversation about race, about gender, about just gender ideology and all this type of stuff. She pops up, and some conservative pops her right off of the face of the map, and then she comes back again. It's almost like a menstrual period. When the menstrual comes, here she comes as the pimple. So yeah.
I'm never gonna think of it the same again. I said Laura Pimple Popper. We need to call KJ the new Dr. Pimple Popper. I think like this whole back and forth and watching all those clips, the truth is bad enough. And that's what the left doesn't understand. And that's what evil people or demonic entities or people that's what they don't understand. When the truth is bad enough, use the truth. But it's not even enough. They have to go on the lie, and then they build on the lies, and they feed off the lies. They get bigger and bigger, and that there's no way to get back. And we're seeing this with this whole unraveling of the Biden administration. And, he was fine and healthy and nobody knew. And now you see everybody backtracking. They don't know how to cover up. They lied so much, they can't get back to the truth. And I'm just going to call us as Christians, we just need to know the truth and stick to the truth. Right. We don't need to make up facts. Facts is Christ. The facts are, God said, you need to know the word. Know the facts, stick to the truth, and we win. The reason why Donald Trump is in office is because we voted for a man based on the truth. We knew what was right. Right was right, wrong was wrong. We could see things for our own eyes. That's all we needed. We didn't need all the other bells, whistles, concerts, and lies. And with I don't even know her name.
I know. I couldn't find her name. I'm sure she's on Jubilee a lot. So these people don't even have jobs, I don't think. They don't even work.
Antagonizing. That's their job. Clickbait. That's their job.
Yeah, you're right, Michelle.
Lying is their job.
Exactly. And we're using this time, get your popcorn out, because we're showing you clips of these leftists getting their lunch ate. Here's another one. This is Michael Knowles destroying this leftist with facts. This is clip 4.
You said you argued from an anthropology? That's like your basis of...
Yeah, men and women are different, and marriage involves one of each. Yeah.
What specific culture are you referring to? Because we have so many cultures that have communal relationships in which people are raised. When you said in the act of procreation, have you ever heard of it takes a village to raise kids? But that's not something that's just a saying.
No, I didn't say
it happens literally in specific cultures.
No, but when I say procreation, that's the act of creating the child. And usually there aren't 3 or 4 people involved in that. It's usually 2 people.
Yeah, but even those people that do create the child, oftentimes were referred to as different genders depending on the culture that it is that you're observing.
Which cultures are you referring to?
We could talk about the Mayans. We could talk about certain Amazonian cultures. I recognize that they're not Western cultures, so you might not prioritize them, but that doesn't mean that they don't exist.
What was their... Well, they no longer exist, the Mayans.
Right, because of colonialism. I'm glad that you're justifying it, though.
What was their view of gender? What specifically are you referring to?
That's specifically a social characteristic that we're all performing in right now. I mean, you can't say...
No, I'm not asking your opinion. I'm asking what... You brought up the Mayans. What did the Mayans think?
That's just something that is...
But what did the Mayans think? You brought it up. You seem so confident about this. What did the Mayans think about marriage and gender?
We can talk about difference in the way that they are recognized.
Can we? I don't know that you know the difference. You said there was a difference, but you haven't explained how there was a difference. And I think this is what people do a lot.
Wait, is this prompt specifically on the Mayan anthropology?
Okay, I'm trying to drill down. Just when you say there are different understandings of marriage throughout history and time and space, I say, okay, maybe that's possible. How? Tell me, point to the examples. And you said, well, the Mayans. And I said, okay, well, what did the Mayans think about marriage? And you don't have an answer. And none of these people have answers because everyone has... Do you have an answer?
People can look up right now. If you're right near a Google, yeah, exactly. Right. Michael's trying to hone me down on trivia night right now.
No, I'm just
right
asking
now,
you to explain.
We're trying to talk about specifically our examples.
I'm asking you to explain the point that you brought up.
This guy! Oh my God! I laughed so hard at that. He was the first time Michael asked him about it. He does this stupid thing like kids do when they're done something wrong or they don't know the answer in class. He did this. Like, what are you looking at? I'm right here, bro. And then after he brought up the whole thing about the Mayans, he tries to make it seem like Michael brought it up.
Yeah.
So what did you think of that?
Over and over. I was dying when from the get when he said, I'm talking about procreating. You don't procreate with multiple people. It's one man and it's one woman specifically to have the baby. Right? It is just ridiculous. And you're right. He was squirming. He was trying to come up with things. And I just think of a kid who's doing this and they don't like the answers. And then he's got all the co-signers in the circle. This is why I have a hard time watching these clips. Because you got people snapping in the back like, oh, that was a great comeback. And it was the dumbest comeback I've ever heard. It wasn't even a comeback. There's nothing to come back from. He's dumb. And to bring up a culture he clearly knows nothing about, to talk about communal and everybody's every gender, and they don't recognize gender. 1,000 years ago, 100 years ago, in fact, 50 years ago, we recognized that there were men and women. That was the end. It's only now that a bunch of people are confused, and really only in a few nations.
Right, exactly. And this is what they want. They want confusion. They create all these new definitions, all these new terms, and it's just plain and simple, as Michael Knowles broke it down. We need one man and one woman to procreate. And again, traditional marriage is simple as well. Not this communal Marxist crap that he was talking about. Marriage is a covenant, not a convenience. It creates a secure environment for children rooted in commitment and structure. It's not hard. It gets difficult and confused when you start talking about all this communal living, because it introduces rotating adults, blurred roles, and instability, otherwise known as chaos. This is what it is. And this is what the left does. They want to confuse us all.
Yeah. And they just don't understand also, they're forever taking out of context the idea of it takes a village. They want to take that it takes a village to mean it can be all kinds of parents. They somehow, in the most disgusting, twisted way, make it about transgender and open marriage and everything else. It's like, no, it means that people had specific roles. There were women there that would help raise, teachers. It just means community, the same as we're supposed to have community, not this village where it means anybody, any freaky thing can happen and all the kids get exposed to it. And you're never really a parent. Right. It's a village, and they use that in the education system. I've heard teachers teachers unions use this argument. Well, it takes a village. Mm-hmm. It takes a village. So I'm really in charge of this village. No, ma'am, no, sir. I'm the parent. You are not. You're a part of a village. I'm letting them visit. Those children are mine. Right. And so they just use this any kind of way. But he was struggling for real. Don't bring up something. Don't start nothing, won't be nothing. He brought up something when he went back to the Mayan. Don't start no stuff, won't be no stuff. That's what he did. He started it and he ended it. Exactly. And as I mentioned, this whole communal living, it comes straight out of the Karl Marx playbook. In the Communist Manifesto, Marx openly called for the abolition of the family and the end of private property, two pillars that traditional societies depend on. So this whole idea of communal living follows the model by erasing family roles, dissolving ownership, and replacing it with collective care. The goal is to destroy the nuclear family. It's plain and simple. And like you mentioned, it's not the same as community. They want a committee. That's what they want. They want a committee. As we know, the Bible says in Genesis 2, a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife. Yep. Okay. It is very clear. It is very simple. Communal living often sidelines marriage altogether, and it replaces God's order with man-made ideologies. And again, this crap is rooted in Marxism and radical feminism.